What up? It's Nate with Grindhouse Capital. I'm going to read you some news. I'm not a financial advisor. From Decrypt, will dollarization kill Bitcoin trading in Venezuela? Venezuela's complex economic conditions has led it often being referred to as a case study in Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency practically tailor-made for an economy saddled with hyperinflation and a repressive government. Even though Bitcoin use is hardly mainstream in Venezuela, that narrative is more or less held up. The country ranks third in the world in terms of Bitcoin adoption, according to September 2020 report from Chainalysis. But recent societal and political changes in the South American nation may soon put that narrative to the test. Part of the reason why some tech-savvy Venezuelans turned to Bitcoin to protect their wealth and escape the devaluing bolivar was because US dollars were difficult to obtain. Buying them was technically illegal, so citizens would resort to the black market to find them. They no longer have to do that. What's more, the notoriously anti-imperialist government of Nicolas Maduro appears to have now conceded defeat to dollarization, accepting the fact that the dollar is the de facto currency of Venezuela. Earlier this year, Maduro's government began allowing Venezuelan banks to open accounts for their customers in dollars. Businesses can now even start paying their workers in foreign currencies, something that would have been unimaginable in Venezuela a decade ago. So now that Venezuela has opened its doors to dollars, will that diminish the role Bitcoin plays in the country's informal economy? Regional experts don't believe there's much reason to think so yet. For most people, the dollar will continue to provide shelter from inflation for day-to-day transactions, but it'll never be a store of value in the same way Bitcoin is today, according to Alberto Zambrano, founder of AJZ Institute, a regional project that offers training on crypto, blockchain, and other technologies. Saulo Munoz, an economist who specializes in social development, shares a similar view. Bitcoin is consolidated as an important aspect of a community that currently rejects fiat money, he told Decrypt. Munoz also sees Bitcoin trading with the Venezuela maintaining its momentum. It could even escalate as new use cases for the cryptocurrency emerge, he said. Venezuela currently has a very active peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading market. The trading volume in the country remains the highest among all Latin American nations, according to data from metric site Useful Tulips. Other than a spike in volume in late December and early January, trading on peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange local Bitcoins among Venezuelans remains on par with the levels recorded throughout the last 2 years. So they have been buying and selling with local Bitcoins and still are. That suggests that Bitcoin trading in the country has remained stable regardless of price fluctuations and more recently irrespective of the government's shifting views on currency controls and limitations on the dollar. What's more, cryptocurrencies appear to be becoming an increasingly important consideration for Maduro's government. In September 2019, Maduro confirmed that Venezuela's central bank holds Bitcoin and Ethereum among its international reserves. The state-run platform for remittances also accepts cryptocurrencies and even expanded that initiative just this last week. According to Munoz, instead of hampering Bitcoin trading, dollarization in Venezuela may just lead to a diversification of payment methods on trading platforms. All right. From Vox, when to expect your stimulus check and other questions answered. On Wednesday, the House of Representatives passed a $1.9 trillion stimulus package by a vote of 220 to 211. The bill was approved by the Senate last Saturday and is expected to be signed into law by President Joe Biden this week. I think he did it today, even. That means a third round of direct cash payments will soon be on the way, but there are a few differences from the stimulus bill Congress passed in December. Specifically, this round of payments will be quite a bit larger for most of those who received checks previously. Instead of the 600 that was sent out in December, individuals will receive as much as 1,400 depending on their income. However, the income threshold to receive a check will also be stricter this time around, after moderate Senate Democrats used their leverage to negotiate a lower maximum eligible income with the Biden White House. Those changes meant that about 17 million fewer people will receive a third round of stimulus than would have been under the House passed version of the bill, according to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. But some 280 million people will still be eligible. This is what you need to know. Who qualifies for 1400 direct payment? Unlike previous rounds of payments, eligibility for the new 1400 checks may be determined based on either 2019 or 2020 tax returns, depending on whether you filed yet for 2020 and whether the IRS has processed your return. In general, the federal government will use the most recent income information as it has on file to determine the eligibility. Here's who's eligible. Adults who earn 75,000 or less in their most recent tax year will receive the full 1400, as will married couples who earn 150K or less and heads of household who earned 112,500 or less. Adults who earn more than 75,000 but less than 80,000 and married couples who earn more than 150K but less than 160K and heads of household who earn more than 112,500 but less than 120 will be eligible for a reduced payment. Online calculators can give you an idea of how much to expect based on variables like your filing status and number of dependents. Adults who earn more than 80,000 or married couples who earn more than 160 and heads of households who earn more than 120 will not be eligible for checks. Parents will also receive an additional $1,400 check for each dependent claimed on their tax returns. Parents will also receive an additional $1,400 check for each dependent claimed on their tax returns. Unlike previous direct payments, all dependents, including college students and some people with disabilities, not just children under 17, will be eligible. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible to receive the direct payments. Households which one adult has legal residency and the other does not would be eligible for at least one check, however. If you didn't file a tax return in 19 and haven't done one yet in 20, you may be able to use the IRS's free fileable form to do so in order to receive a stimulus check. There's a link here. I am at Vox in this article, but I'd say irs.gov. When will you receive it? It's still unclear exactly when the latest C-19 relief package will be signed into law, but like I said, I think it did happen today. But it's expected to happen before March 14th, when federal unemployment benefits are currently set to expire. That means checks will likely start showing up the second half of March, depending on a few different factors. As was the case with the last two stimulus checks, direct deposit recipients are likely to get their checks the fastest, as CNET notes. Direct deposit payments begin registering in accounts about 2 weeks after the last stimulus package was processed. So if the relief bill is signed on the expected schedule, the first payments should start showing up in bank accounts the week of March 22nd. Physical checks are expected to take about a week longer than direct deposits and should begin going out starting March 29th or so. Lastly, economic impact payment or EIP cards could take the longest. The prepaid debit cards may begin to go out the week of April 5th, depending on when the stimulus package is signed into law. Is there anything I need to do to get a check? As Vox's Fabiola Sinias and Ellen Nielsen explain, after Congress passed its previous round of direct payments, most people don't need to do anything to get a stimulus check. If you filed taxes in 2019 or 2020, meet the eligibility requirements, and included your direct deposit information, the payment should show up in your account in the coming weeks. If your direct deposit information isn't on file with the IRS yet, you can still provide those details using IRS's Get My Payment tool before the latest waves of payments start going out. All right, get your check. Last time stimuluses came out, if you got the $1,200 stimulus April 15th, 2020, and put it into Bitcoin that day, today it is $10,434.30, up 770%. If you bought Bitcoin with the $600 stimulus check, December 29th, 2020, when it came out, it is now worth $1,246.32, up 108%. And I'm sure they will add to this site when the new current stimulus comes out. From Crypto Slate, Kryptonites Dubai. Crypto traders reveal their most bullish predictions for Bitcoin in 2021. There's some prediction news. Ask 10 crypto proponents about the prices of Bitcoin a year from now, and you're likely to hear 10 widely different answers. Some use astrology, some use technical analysis, and some use on chain voodoo art for their predictions. And then there are the ex-institutional guys like Tony Vays who rely on a mix of the staunchest fundamental and technical analysis for their calls. Vays worked on Wall Street for almost 10 years, starting as a risk analyst at Bear Stearns and later becoming a VP at JP Morgan Chase in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. His expertise is in economic trends, trading, and risk analysis. He's been a Bitcoin bull since 2013. Today, Vays caught up with Alex Fazell for a feature on crypto edutainment channel Kryptonites. They discussed everyone's favorite topic, aka where is Bitcoin going in the next year, apart from how Bitcoin converts like Michael Saylor and Elon Musk affect price action, the upcoming rush of institutions in the space, and the moon target of 300,000 per Bitcoin in 2021. Joining them is Carl the Moon, a popular crypto investor and educator who runs a YouTube channel about Bitcoin news and is known for his easy-to-watch technical analysis videos for Bitcoin newcomers. Here's what they said. Carl kicked the show off with a little insight into how Bitcoin rallies in the past usually acted. If you look at other bull markets in Bitcoin, we have always seen huge corrections, and 40% is well within the realms of what is normal, he said. We haven't even seen 40% in like the last year now, which makes me a little bit skeptical of the whole price action. I think that with too many people FOMOing in at the same time, driven by this whole institutional narrative, adding that while the institutions were jumping in, people were likely over speculating the effects of it in the past few months. MicroStrategy and Tesla have jumped into Bitcoin at different periods in the past 6 months, picking up over 2.5 billion of the asset and all between the two of them. Square has picked up over 50 million worth as well, and several institutional investors have stacked their own hoards as well. Vays added that nation states are rumoredly jumping on the bandwagon too. Now that I'm here in Dubai, I'm hearing all these rumors how Dubai is about to buy Bitcoin. UAE is about to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, he said. But for Vays, institutional FOMO isn't the only reason for his bullishness. He says his experience of the latest U.S. election was the biggest driver. I felt that they cheated and that they made me lose respect for the U.S. government, he said, adding, if it makes me lose respect for the U.S. economic system, he said, that makes me lose respect for the U.S. economic system. And this is probably why the dollar is faltering, not because they're printing too many dollars. People are losing confidence in the dollar, and corporates are scared. Everyone's scared. Vays noted that once the above begins and people lose trust in their government, they end up moving their money into anything they have confidence in. Bitcoin is the ultimate alternative. Adding to Vays' comments on how people were losing trust in the government, Carl said the current macroeconomic environment was priming up the way Bitcoin's creators had imagined. This scenario is literally what Bitcoin was made for, the money printing, and we're seeing like financial disaster. And I think that Bitcoin is taking a lot of like interest for people are interested in Bitcoin because it's the best place to kind of hide from this whole disaster, he said. Uh, I As for price targets in the short term, Vays said he sees Bitcoin reaching 65K before a more serious correction. But now that we just had a 20% correction, I think that we delayed it a bit, he said. If the price goes back above 55, I'll now be looking for 65 or as high as 75 before that 40% correction comes. Carl, on the other hand, sees the bull run to be a double bubble run similar to that in 2013. I'm looking for this first peak to be in that 65 to 75 range and the second peak somewhere between 100,000, he said, and maybe 200,000. Wasn't entirely out of the cards. All right. From Crypto Slate, moving on. Here's one from Decrypt. Terry Crews has launched a social currency of his own. Actor Terry Crews is launching a social currency called Power with the help of crypto startup Roll. According to TechCrunch, Crews' ultimate goal with his Power social currency is to empower artists. That's our long term plan to become this thing that this community can live and exist in. Roll allows individuals to create social currencies, allowing them to own, control, and coordinate their own value and get closer to fans and consumers. Described as the blockchain infrastructure for social money, Roll is powered by the Ethereum network. That means any Roll social currency is minted and distributed as a standard ERC20 token. Roll might be a startup, but its market is growing significantly. Its social money has a market cap of 1.2 billion and sees a 24-hour trade volume of 2.7 million. The concept of actors, musicians, and influencers getting closer to their fans by decentralizing their content is gaining traction in the crypto industry. World famous rapper Akon is also getting on board with Roll. He partnered with the startup in order to provide support to African influencers that create their own currencies on Roll. In turn, creators can choose to support Akon's various business ventures. Soulja Boy, best known for his hit single Crank That, has considered creating his own cryptocurrency too. He publicly opined on the subject on Twitter earlier this year. Thoughts on me creating my own crypto? Elsewhere in the industry, a social token incubator called Seed Club is trying to make sure the social currency industry truly takes off. In October of last year, Seed Club held a hackathon to engage the Ethereum community in the growing social token industry. The hackathon itself gave up 10K in rewards. And that is all I have for today. This Nate and Grindhouse Capital. Holla.